Hello. What if I told you that your brain already had the capability to turn down the volume on your chronic pain experience? Not a pill, not a procedure, but two very well known scientifically backed mental capabilities that actually change the way your nervous system and how it processes pain signals interacts. So I'm Mary Catherine George. I'm a health psychologist. I've done research over the past 30 years, and I come each week to talk about all of the things with healthy aging and what we have to do to help us understand on a basic level what we can do each day. So please subscribe. I would love to see you here each week where we can share and inspire one another to keep doing the daily activities that are going to keep us functional well into our 80s and 90s. So, one of the most important things that we know is as we get older, chronic pain is something that more than 50. The issue is that over $600 billion are lost in earnings and wages and expenses due to chronic pain. And that we know over time, people who are 50 and older, we're going to have more incidences of chronic pain than we ever thought was possible. And that's the problem with aging, is that it comes with things that are related to the inflammatory system. And so we're going to confront joints that ache, or sometimes it's an injury that's unexpected. Maybe you tripped and fell, you've sprained your ankle, or you fell and you've sprained your wrist, whatever it is that you've done. And now you have a chronic pain. You're someone, as you're getting older, has developed what's called idiopathic neuropathy. This is because of some aging component that we really don't understand that causes this neuropathic pain in our feet and our hands. It's a tingling, it's a numbness. Some call it a shooting pain, an electrical shock. And this is something that happens. Chronic pain is something that is real. And so many people struggle to deal with their pain every single day. So I want to talk about two things that you can learn that by the end of this video that you're going to know about mindfulness and self-hypnosis. And this is not woo stuff, but it's really, truly concrete neurological tools that have good research behind them that really shows how we can turn the volume down on our chronic pain. So first we need to understand the biggest myth about pain. Pain is not a signal that travels from your body to your brain. If you're in chronic pain, you're having some kind of a wiring problem where your brain has become a construct about perception of pain, and it's occurring in your brain, especially if you're someone who's had pain for more than 3 months. Pain becomes more of a multifactorial component where you are based on your perception of pain, based on your environment, based on your background. So many things play a role into how we experience pain. And what fascinated me when I first started doing research is that you would see someone who clinically was the same as another person. Yet one person would say that their pain was excruciating, was a 9/10, and the other person said they were barely bothered by their pain, maybe a 2 or a 3. Yet clinically, we would look at them and scientifically, they looked identical. They had identical presentation in their body with symptoms and signs when you do the exam, when you do something with testing. You saw that they were the same, yet the way they experienced pain was totally different. So why is that? Like I said, it's something that based on how people perceive pain, it's very interesting when you look at some of the research that's done out there in different parts of the world. The way that they handle pain is very different than what we do here in the United States. It's quite fascinating. And so we have a cultural view of pain. you have a societal view of pain, you have your own family's view of pain. That's why some people will be very stoic. They never complain, they may suffer in silence. And when we've had couples come in, their partner will say, "Oh, he's suffering. He won't just say what's wrong. He will pretend he's not having any pain." Or people are afraid to take the pain medicines because they're afraid they're going to become addicted or they become dependent. So the truth is that it means that pain is something that is super unique to each of us and how we experience it. And what's so amazing is that we have seen by using simple tools like mindfulness and self-hypnosis, you can modify your pain experience because it is a modifiable component of the brain at the neural level, the brain cell level. And that is what really changes everything. In fact, some of the research that's going on right now is targeting the fact that's where things are happening in your brain for chronic pain. There are some virtual reality tools that are targeting this. There are some low ultrasound focused tools that are targeting areas of the brain. And this is what's so amazing. It is through some what we call non-significant risked kinds of studies that we're not opening up somebody or cutting or implanting. We're merely teaching someone or we're giving them an experience like a virtual reality experience where they can have the autonomy to feel a sense of control over how they engage and work with their pain. So the key issue is that we need to understand the theory of pain. So back in 1965, we know that two researchers, Malzak and Wall, they proposed a theory called the gate control theory of pain. And it's still foundational today. We know that there is a pathway, it's called your spinal cord, and that this is the key essential pathway for pain in an area in the spinal cord called the dorsal horn that can open or close the signals before they even get to your brain. Now, what controls that gate? Non-painful sensations, which is why rubbing an area that you hit because it's sore or something will actually make you feel better. Your emotional state will also make you feel worse if you're fearful about having a pain sensation. We know that the descending signals from your brain itself, your thoughts, your attention, your expectations, can also impact this gate. So that's what happens with chronic pain. When pain signals repeat over time, constantly bombarding the nervous system, it becomes what we call hypersensitive. Now, that means the neurons are constantly firing and that we are having this happen more easily and that our ability to tolerate pain lowers. So your brain starts to become an anticipatory component of pain, and we often call this central sensitization. And it's why chronic pain is so self-perpetuating. Now, this doesn't mean that you're making the pain up in your brain. No, that's not what it means. It means the pain that you're experiencing is real, but that the fact that your nervous system has gotten this message turned up to a level that you really can't turn it down. And that's why we have to do things to change that loop of constant conversation going on in our bodies. We can interrupt it. We can establish something by talking about our pain or working with ourselves about our pain so that we can interrupt that signaling to help ourselves manage our pain perception. Think about it this way. When you're in a movie theater and you're watching a movie and you're enthralled in the moment, it's like you lose all sense of time and location and a sense of your body. You go into what's called somewhat of a flow state. That is what you have the capacity to choose, which is phenomenal. Occasionally, you will find it accidentally if you're doing something you're passionate about, or like I said, you're watching a very intense, grabbing movie, and that you're on the seat of your pants and you just lose all sense of what you're feeling in your body. And if you could call upon that whenever you wanted, what a magnificent way to manage your pain. And in truth, that's really what mindfulness is. And that's really what self hypnosis gives you. So, mindfulness, it works on pain through several overlapping mechanisms. And I'm going to walk you through this because understanding this makes the practice so much more meaningful. I know mindfulness is something that I am so invested in because truthfully, I've had a lot of pain with my hips, with my joints, and you know what? I use mindfulness every day, every single day, and I find it to be the best approach for me to help me manage any kinds of pains that I'm having to manage. So deep inside our brain is a structure called the insula, and it is essential for your body's internal reporting system. And it processes sensations that you feel from the inside. By doing mindfulness and meditation experience, you can somehow modify the intensity of painful sensations and you can make it significantly less unpleasant. And even though the sensation is still there, your feeling of that painfulness decreases because you're using this practice of mindfulness. And that's really what I think is not easy for people to adopt. They feel that some of these practices are silly or they don't have much meaning for them. But that's where you're wrong. We have learned that while we teach people these practices, like in the chronic stress mindfulness, it's a CB. I always have to think about what it's MBSR, mindfulness based stress reduction. Really, that's what it's doing. It's teaching you multiple ways that you can use mindfulness to help yourself manage your chronic pain. It's a big course. I think it's 8 or 12 weeks. And there is a company that's called Ally VR, and they're using the virtual reality tool to help people manage their pain, their back pain, by using this company called Relief VR. It's really doing magnificent. It helps people a lot with their chronic back pain by giving them this tool that uses a mindfulness-based stress reduction step-by-step cognitive behavioral treatments, therapies, walking you through all of the tactics that you can use to help you manage your chronic pain. And it's the same thing with self-hypnosis. We feel a fearfulness about feeling the intensity of the pain that we know is potentially there. Now, if we can train ourselves by focusing on the ways that fear is a potential modifier of pain, we can think about this as your brain's alarm system. It will get activated, it will get turned on, the signaling gets going, and you can hardly turn it off. And that's really what's difficult. And I think many people find that it's difficult if somehow the pain gets activated. Maybe you've done too much over the day, and now you're going to try and go to sleep. And guess what? Your alarm bells are off. You've overdone it. And now your pain is accelerated to a point where nothing, no medicine, no nothing turns it down. And that's really where mindfulness and the use of self-hypnosis can strengthen an area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. This is an area of regulating the parts of your brain, and it gives it power to turn down the amygdala so that you can have less fear and help the gate close so your pain will decrease. But it takes a practice where you are finding a place where you can go into a deep attention state, or you can go into a deep mindfulness or self-hypnosis practice. And that's why I'm working on a software right now using virtual reality because I really feel strongly that people with chronic pain need tools. They need something to help them walk through the process of a mindfulness practice or the process of using self hypnosis. And when you do a mindfulness practice, it activates that region of the brain called the periaqueductal gray or PAG. And that's your brain's built in pain suppression system. When it's activated, it will send natural endorphins and serotonin down to your spinal cord where the pain gate is open and naturally turn it down. But this really takes practice, both with self hypnosis and with mindfulness. And that is why you really need to make certain that you're giving yourself some time and attention to learn what you can do for yourself with using mindfulness and self hypnosis. You need to engage in the process of daily giving yourself this constant ability to be in touch with your body through a mindfulness practice, touch with a deep sense of relaxation through a self hypnosis practice, so that you can separate yourself from the pain and be more in touch with the parts of you that are not in pain. It's not like you're in avoidance, but you're really distinctly feeling a sense of separation. Like maybe your pain is outside you, or maybe your pain is something that you can put in another location. It is about doing a practice, a mindfulness practice, a self hypnosis practice every single day so that you can train yourself in a place of consistency, like 5 or 10 minutes a day, where you're giving yourself a distinct, super relaxed state where you can observe these sensations of pain without feeling a sense of overwhelm or being consumed. This is truly an amazing capability that our brain naturally has, but we don't necessarily cultivate this. And we really have a hard time teaching patients, unless they're in a research study, of how to cultivate these practices for themselves. But anytime we've done research for patients, we've seen that they have improved in their pain condition, that they have the ability to give themselves these practices. But it's something that is not easy for us as physicians, your doctors, your pain doctors, your primary care doctor to refer you to a self hypnosis practitioner or to a program that teaches mindfulness. These are not easy to access. And I think also, too, for me, they seem to be very long and involved. While we can truthfully teach you in a super easy way, that they're easy to do and that you can do them on demand. So if you want to explore, there is wonderful links that I can give you in the show notes where you can go and find Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness. Tara Brach has some wonderful meditation and mindfulness practices. All of these are really deeply valuable, and by engaging in them on a regular process for you when you're feeling the best about your body. It's about finding a way to associate yourself with the person who isn't feeling pain and dissociate yourself from that sensation of feeling an overwhelm from pain, so that you're teaching your brain to choose the one that's not in pain versus clamoring or letting your body and your brain choose how you're going to respond to pain. So I know this sounds rather simplistic, but when I've taught people self hypnosis or mindfulness practices, it's truly something that you start to see how your brain will adapt the more that you engage in these practices. And that the more that you're able to control how you're feeling in your body just by making that choice. So remember, my friends, you have this one precious life. We really don't want to be on so many pain pills Taking Advil every day, taking Tylenol every day. These are things that are not great for our liver and our kidneys. And we really truly are going to find that we do have pain. I have knee pain. It's not gone away. But because I do self-hypnosis and I do mindfulness practices, I haven't had it prevent me from doing anything. I'm working hard to strengthen my muscles, but I make a point of every single day in the mornings or when you feel the most calm and relaxed of doing a brief mindfulness practice. And what's so amazing is that you can do mindfulness anywhere. You can do a self-hypnosis task anywhere. You don't need water and pills. You don't need any tools. You can merely close your eyes and engage in a simple breathing exercise like a 4x4, or you can do a simple mindfulness presence like feeling your feet on the floor, feeling your clothes on your skin, feeling the hair beret in your hair. All of these things are really helpful for you to get in touch with what is my body feeling like? And can I let go of the pain that I'm feeling in my joints? And can I let go of the fearfulness that if I do a certain movement that I'm going to be in pain? I know this all sounds rather simplistic, and truthfully, I can feel that many times when I'm talking to some patients that they feel like their pain is way more than just something that they can make a choice over how to experience it. And I know that sounds rather simplistic, but realistically, that's what's so phenomenal about our brain is our brain has the capacity to train itself to separate from the feeling of pain to a feeling of being away from pain or different from their pain. But I think it starts with what you believe is possible. I'm going to put some links to explore some of these potential practices that you can start to find a way to have less pain every day. So please think about subscribing. And if you're interested, I have an ebook that's coming out that's all about all the behavioral practices for pain. We have so many exciting things that you can do every single day to help reduce the inflammation in your body, to improve how your brain perceives pain. So please think about subscribing. I would love to see you here where we can share and motivate each other to practice some mindfulness, practice some self-hypnosis, and find ways that you can have more control over that gate that opens the flood of pain to your brain. Be well, my friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.